Hello, my name is Martin, welcome back to another video. So we're going back to our roots in this video, back to where we started 7 years ago. So we're going to go and look at some things we've seen before that are now changing, some things that have gone, and some things that we're looking into the origin of it. So all will be revealed, and we're going to do it via the medium of pubs. Oh. Nice pubs in Manchester. Yeah. Anyway, where have you been?
I've just been off.
Yeah, he missed the canal stuff, so he couldn't make. You were working, weren't you?
Yeah. Did you have a brew?
Oh, it's gone again.
So the wind has made a bit of a bugger up of the intro. We're here in Angel Meadow, or Angel Meadows, as it's called by people that don't come from Manchester. 40,000 bodies are buried underneath here. It used to be called New Burying Ground. Now it's the preserve of designer sausage dogs. Anyway, I'm talking rubbish. Let's go to the pub. The first pub I'm going to show you is a nice one. It's called the Marble Arch. Okay, Marble Arch is a proper favourite of ours. Beautiful floor, beautiful ceiling, and a great traditional pub with a fireplace. But we couldn't really talk in there, so we're going to go out back. Cheers. Cheers. So we're at the Marble Arch pub. I've just come outside out back in the Beer Garden. Anyway, so the Marble Arch is just at the top end of Gull Street. And what's at Gull Street? The gasworks. So I'm going to quickly show you the gasworks and what's going on now. So where you see the plant machinery there, underneath there, and where the tower cranes are, was all those chambers that we crawled in and out of. Of course, there are some original bits which are there. This wall. But basically, apartments. And just blessed by the sunlight is that one last remaining arch on the perimeter. The rest of them have gone. I think we caught that, you know, just
at the right time, didn't we?
Well, like you say, if it would have a couple of months later, it would have been gone.
A couple months later, it would have been gone, yeah. So we caught that just at the right time, didn't we? Anyway, so where are we off to first? We've shown on the gasworks. That was an unofficial one. Where are we off to first?
Right, we're off to somewhere from your early beginnings, I think. Yeah?
Yeah, we're going back to my roots, if you like. Where are we going, James?
Lowry Bridge.
Lowry Bridge. Let's go and see what's going on down there. There you go, Union Bridge still there. I think it goes back to about 1805, that bridge. It's very, very, very old. Called Union Bridge. It's something to do with the unification of Ireland. I can't remember. It's in my early video anyway. But not a very architecturally impressive bridge, but nonetheless, Union Bridge deserves its own little mention. And of course, that there is Roger Street. Right, so we're right back at our roots now on this channel. 7 years ago, 2017?
Right.
2017, I was down here making my first videos down here on Collyhurst Road. So we're going back to our roots. I'm going to take you to the Lowry Bridge, you'll know that one. And we're going to look at what's going on, because already this has changed. This is changing. So let's go and see what's happening. Down there is HMG paints and the Moss Brook, and we've done all that area, haven't we? We did a video on all that. This was Logwood Mill, if you remember all that. I'm hoping the path is open to the bridge, because there's that much going on here. I'm thinking, can I still get to my old haunts? In fact, if anything, it's a little bit more open than it used to be. It used to be worse than this. So I suppose they've kept it open because it's a public right of way. But what's going on underneath the bridge? Because if you remember back to those early videos, it was not much more than an overgrown carriage sidings. Let's go and have a look. So it's a bit strange being up here and looking at it. I'm glad I've come now to catch it before it's fully developed, to see it at this stage. But does anyone remember those videos I did in 2017? I didn't know you then.
I've never been here before.
You've never been before. I didn't know Roy then either. Just used to toddle up here on my own, and I was fascinated with the place. I think that's when I started looking at maps and I started realising that the changes that had taken place, and it all started here at Collyhurst Road and Lowry Bridge.
What was here before this?
Well, it was a carriage sidings.
Oh, for trains?
Big railway carriage sidings, yeah. So the skyline's definitely changed, and you can see the car park there that was for the carriage sidings. A lot more towers now built there, as you'll see in this next clip. This is going to be a corridor of new developments, but over on the right there, far right, we see the greenery. That was a railway line, and we walked along there, mushrooms on the line. Now, is the little hut still there, the little plate layers hut? Let's have a look. Right, it's there, hiding away in the trees. So that's still there. That won't be there much longer, that's going to go, that eventually. But if you remember, we went in there. I actually lit it with some lights when I first got my coloured lights. And then of course this way goes over towards Cheetham Hill. This hasn't changed. And then this area, I think over there, was called Barney's Tip. I think it's going to be called something like St Catherine's.
Oh, is it?
St Catherine's. It obviously relates to something. Whether that church down there, it used to be down there, was called St Catherine's. But the whole development is going to be like a whole development along the Irk Valley, the Irk corridor. But the strange thing is, it's sat here for like 40 years, unchanged and overgrown, and just finally it's changing, and it will be full of apartments for, well, not for local people.
Coffee shops and pocket parks.
Coffee shops, pocket parks. I mean, it's probably better.
Yeah, they built a nice park.
In one way.
To walk your sausage dog.
Yeah, somewhere to walk your designer sausage dog, innit?
Yeah.
Or your, what is it?
Jackapoo.
Your jackapoo, like he's got. But yeah, I suppose it can't stay. It was a wasteland, and if you remember that video I did called Mushrooms on the Line, that was literally just a complete wasteland there. So I've heard it called a few things: St Catherine's, the Irk corridor, but this map here shows the church that it's named after, if it will be called St Catherine's. You can see it there just off Collyhurst Road. That church is now gone without a trace. There it is in a picture, 1969, but that was just off Collyhurst Road, and that, I think, is lending its name to this new development.
So up next, we're off to the origins of a famous photo.
We're off to Gibraltar.
Gibraltar. Right, so this is where I wanted to be. This is Danzig Street. That's part of the ring road there. See Ashton House there? Don't try to get run over. See Ashton House there, right? Can you get it, James, there, that? Yeah. Years ago when I did a milk round with my dad, it used to be a women's refuge. And we used to come down here about 5:30 in the morning and deliver milk there when I was about 16 years old. We only did it for 2 weeks, and my dad always insisted on going in and taking the milk in and everything. Anyway, just thought I'd throw that in. So there's a picture that quite often does the rounds on the Manchester History Facebook groups. It's an amazing picture, and I'm going to show it you now. There it is, absolutely fantastic. I'm going to go into some detail about it. If you go into Manchester Libraries, this is what it says about this picture. It says this: Gibraltar off Long Millgate, a cluster of houses which stood on the banks of the Irk, near Scotland Bridge, in a court off the lower end of Long Millgate, now renamed Corporation Street. The date 1668 was to be seen on a beam in one of these buildings. Now I can't see that anywhere. The buildings were taken down in 1889. The photograph is dated 1877. But quite often people can't place where it was. It's the little street that it's on, for want of a better description, is called Gibraltar. That's Danzig Street. That goes there. Follow me, James. That's Aspin Lane and Redbank. We need to go down this little side street here. Right, so this little cobble street here is called Meadow Street. It's got its roots in Mill Street, but I'll show you on the old maps, Meadow Street. And you see the wall down there? I'll get you some close-ups. That is where the picture was taken. So I've actually not been down here before, but it was here. Now Gibraltar in the picture, that row of houses, actually does butt up to a railway arch. What you need to remember is the arches in this yard now are wider than what they used to be because the railway got widened. That's Parker's Hotel, by the way. I'm showing you that just so it's behind there if you know where that is. But those arches you see are not those that you see in the picture because the whole thing got widened. So Gibraltar would have probably gone underneath those arches that we're seeing now. Right, so here we are. This is where I started telling you about my dad. Going in Ashton House here, which was the women's refuge, and I stood on this corner here talking to you. I said this was Danstick Street. It's actually Corporation Street. Danstick Street is further down, but hey ho, my bad. There's Meadow Street, which I told you about, and this is the little cobble street I went down. So what we're going to do now is we're going to turn time back to the old maps, and you'll see Meadow Street becomes Mill Street, and as we walk down, there it is, Gibraltar, a row of dwellings here, Gibraltar. And we're going down there and down here towards the River Irk. The Irk is here. This is the Irk. There's the weir on the Irk. You'll see the railways just completely railroaded through, if you like. Gibraltar went down here towards the banks of the Irk, and then you went to this town mill and corn mill, which is what the weir was for. Now, the weir is still there. The weir is still there, but obviously the mills have long since gone. But that's where the photo was taken, probably standing here somewhere looking at Gibraltar. Now, notice this behind Gibraltar Court, and I want to bring your attention to these little dwellings. Gibraltar Court, Brooks Court, Black Lion Court, there's one over here, Crown Court, Monday Place, isn't it? Engels, in his book, The Condition of the Working Classes, wrote about some of these dwellings, these back-to-back dwellings here that we look at now. And he described them, and it's not a pretty picture he paints. In particular, he's talking about this part and these dwellings on the banks of the River Irk. Okay, I want to read you a clip, and it's from Engels, The Condition of the Working Classes. What you're looking at now is much cleaner than what he describes, because what you're looking at now is much later in these pictures. What he describes as a horror show, and he is describing this area of Gibraltar and where we've just been looking at, and it's just listen to this. Bear with me because I really want to read you this. On the crest of the hill in Long Millgate, which is where we are, among them are mills on the river, which were those two mills I showed you in the map. Construction is crowded and disorderly here in this part of Long Millgate. Right and left, a multitude of covered passages lead from the main street into numerous courts, and he who turns into thither gets into a filth and disgusting grime, the equal of which is not to be found, especially in the courts, which lead down to the Irk, and which contain unqualifiedly the most horrible dwellings which I have yet beheld. In one of these courts there stands directly at the entrance at the end of the covered passage a privy without a door, so dirty that the inhabitants can pass into and out of the court only by passing through foul pools of stagnant urine and excrement. This will have been Gibraltar and the little passageways around there. I'm going to read you another little section here now, and believe me, when I'm showing you these pictures are taken from the 1900s, a little bit later, and they're nothing like as bad as what he's describing. But here's another little piece I'm going to read to you. Okay, so just a short piece about Allen's Court, right? I find these things fascinating, which is just across from where the Juicy Bridge pub was, and across from where Manchester Victoria Station is. So it's in that area if you know Manchester. The first court below Juicy Bridge, known as Allen's Court. So this is at a lower level down by the river. So this will have probably disappeared without a trace now. There's some massive tower blocks there now. The first court below Juicy Bridge, known as Allen's Court, was in such a state at the time of the cholera that the sanitary police ordered it evacuated, swept and disinfected with chloride of lime. Dr. K gives a terrible description of the state of this court at the time. It's been partially torn away and rebuilt, so it just sounds like a nightmare. And this is very real for me because I can place where that is. And I bet down below street level somewhere there's the remains of that Allen's Court, but obviously long since forgotten. So there you go, so Gibraltar just there. Some people know where that photo was taken, some people don't, so I hope I've just put that into context for you now.
While we're doing pubs, we're going to do a memorial of a nice little pub.
Next stop then, the Juicy Bridge.
So in memory of a pub indeed. So where you see a big grey and glass tower now, there used to be a pub there, and as you all know, Mancunians will know, it was the Juicy Bridge pub. Long gone, but I have got some footage because before it went and before it all got cordoned off, I came down and I did some footage of the building. It's like it's never disappeared. That was a very popular pub. They used to put music on. My mate Danny lived there for a short time, and I went in a couple of times. Round the side, the buildings were right to the right there. They were very old because look at this. It must have been kind of a warehouse because they had this loading sort of shaft, if for want of a better word. There would have been a pulley system up there probably. And then of course, a friend of mine got some pictures of it when it had been demolished, and it was razed to the ground. And there's Parker's Hotel. We know that behind there is Gibraltar, and there's part of that winch mechanism. And thanks to Stuart as well, who had the presence of mind to come down here when they were pulling down the Juicy Bridge and filmed some of that demolition footage I've got. Anyway, right, so we're now going to another pub. Where are we going to, James?
The Crown and Kettle.
The Crown and Kettle. Is it all right in there?
I think it's gone better. It's more student here now, a bit like here, like gone a bit cool.
So it's not, I won't get roughed up in there. Might do. Anyway, where is it, Roy?
It's over in Ancoats.
Ancoats?
Ancoats, did you say?
Or do you mean New Islington?
All right, yeah. New Islington.
I'll be talking about more about that in a minute. Anyway, let's go to the Crown and Kettle. Apparently it's got a beautiful, nice ceiling in there, what I have a look at. And stay tuned to the end of the video because you'll hear the story of how I made a complete fool of myself and how I kind of got to know Roy through doing that. Some of you may know at the end what I'm talking about, but we're revisiting things. Right, if only I'd have known this when we were in there. The bit where we sat, the ceiling is, as you can see, has been beautiful, but only part of it's been restored and I didn't get to see that bit. Also, there's supposed to be some wood panelling from a famous airship, I think the R100 or the R101, if only I'd have known that. Crown and Kettle. Cheers.
Boys.
What am I saying?
How long as it takes for the board to go around to make your decision? What are you going to do? Gamble?
Gamble.
Right, so here's the deal, right? We've come into the Crown and Kettle today because it's not far from Ancoats. We're just on, this is, the Crown and Kettle's on the corner of Oldham Road and Great Ancoats Street. Just down the road is Ancoats. Now, being a bit of an old bugger now, I remember Ancoats when it was the card room estate, a big sort of council estate, and it was shall we just say late 80s, early 90s. It was a bit of an intimidating place, particularly if you were driving a white van delivering tellies and videos and things like that. You didn't necessarily want to come down here with your van full of tellies and videos. You could get robbed. If you lived there, I'm sure it was a great place and people have great memories of it. Here's the dilemma. Down Great Ancoats Street now, in what I know as Ancoats, around the canals and everything, the Rochdale Canal and the Ashton Canal, it's got this new name. It's called New Islington. Now, I could be wrong here. I was a little bit cynical about this name, right? I'm thinking, where the hell has that come from? Because, you know, I don't understand. So I looked at the old maps. I'm trying to find a key. I'm trying to look at an area that may have been called New Islington or Islington, you know, or is it just literally sausage dog people that have come up with this new name to give it like a nice London sounding name, you know what I mean? In which case in Manchester we're not having that. So I was looking into the origins of the name New Islington. I'm going to have to eat my hat and I'm going to have to eat humble pie because I may have found out why it's called New Islington. Let's just walk down Great Ancoats Street now, or through Ancoats, and we'll try and find. I'll show you the origins of what I think it is. You've got a bit of history here, haven't you? So you keep telling us.
History that cannot be.
Right, this is nice, isn't it? Canal Cottage, and if you just go over here, James, look at that. Nice bit of a chimney there as well. You're in the heart of Ancoats here, New Islington. Now, I realise I'm being a bit clever, I'm being a bit cocky and silly by taking the mickey out of this name, New Islington. So it must have its roots somewhere. It must be called New Islington for a reason. I don't think they just invent it. Come this way and I'll show you the origins. Run, James, run. Might be better over here, James. Right, so here we are, Ashton Canal. This way, James, show them. Ashton Canal, there, right? Come back to me. Right. Okay, we've got a spur here off the Ashton Canal, and that spur there is called the Islington Spur. That is the origin of the name. This area now they call New Islington. Goes up there, comes to a dead end. I'll show you where it goes and I'll show you how it used to be on the map. So it runs in between some apartments, feeling rather sorry for itself. So this is it. This wall here marks the end of the spur as it is now. Just over there is a little canal spur and I'm going to run across the road. You can tell that's canal, can't you, there? That was the Islington Spur. Just going to run across the road now and show you where it went when I can dodge the cars. And away we go. Turn around with me, James. Turn around with me. He went over here, just to where the retail part was. Toys R Us and all the rest of it, if you remember that. Come over here, James. Went there. And then took a right there, that way, and went over to what we now know is New Islington. But it was the Islington Spur. So I'll now go to the maps, and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so there you go. There is my Canals of Manchester map, and you'll see there's a fork there, just disappearing to the left, and the top line is the Rochdale Canal, and the bottom bold red line is the Ashton Canal. And you'll see it shows all the little spurs and wharfs and things, but you'll see where it says Ancoats Locks, and then Canal Yard, you'll see the Islington branch there. So I'm not saying that, you know, the canal has given the name of New Islington, or that branch has given the name to New Islington, but clearly that was the Islington branch, so it tells me that that area was known as Islington way back. So that kind of makes sense now, and now I understand why it's called New Islington and why this name has come back. Somewhere just at the very bottom right there, you'll see Soho. And so it looks like the area was kind of maybe named after London places, but bottom right there, that says Soho branch, doesn't it, I think? Or is it BCH branch? So there you go. And look how busy it is with canals and little spurs, and how the canals just got into everything. It was amazing. Right, third pub, traditional pub, the Peveril of the Peak. If you're on Instagram, or you could come and take a picture of this because it's never been done before. So we're going to go in there. So far, the most expensive pub was you got stung at the
Crown and Kettle.
he got stung at the Crown and Kettle, but we're going to go in here now and see what it's like. Now I'm going to try and tell you why we're here and the significance of where we are. It's to do with
The River Tib.
the River Tib and me getting it wrong. Now you may know about this, but it's the story of how I met him and the whole River Tib saga. But don't worry, we're not going in the River Tib. That's another video. But anyway, let's go in here and see what it's like. Okay, beautiful looking pub, but only very small inside. Tiling is absolutely stunning on the outside. Difficult to film in here because it was very packed and you don't want to start pulling a camera out and filming people. So I'll get what I can for you, but it is a lovely place. And any pub that has a fireplace like this is a definite winner. Pebble of the Peak. How much was your round in?
I say about £14.
£14 in Marble Arch. He got ripped off.
I don't know what I paid for it there.
You paid 20.
£20 he paid at the Crown and Kettle, and this has cost me 15 quid. So, traditional pubs, but yeah, bring plenty of money. What are you reading, Roy?
A book. Not just any book.
About that book. Right, so the reason I brought you down here is just really to revisit something. Tib Lock, where the scene of the crime, where it all happened. River Tib obviously is going underneath where we are now. And the Pebble of the Peak always takes me back to when I did that video where I was doing the Medlock. I think it was Medlock 9. And I thought I'd found the outflow of the River Tib. Turns out that it was wrong, and I did a video correcting it. Now you may have seen that video, you may not have done. James was in it, and at the end of it he custard pied me in the face, or he cheesecaked me in the face. But when I did all that, I'll show you a clip of it. I'm trying to get to the River Tib, but in front of it it's really deep, really deep. Tantalisingly close, let's just see if I can... Not too bad. Right, so there you go, that's me getting it wrong. And I got a message off someone saying, "That's not it, mate, that's not it, I'm afraid, sorry mate, sorry to tell you, that's not it." And I thought, who's this clever telling me I've got it wrong? You know, I'd done a little bit of research, I thought I'd found the outflow of the Tib. Turns out it was you in disguise. Wow, yeah. And I didn't know him at the time. You saw that, and I was making a big thing about finding the River Tib outflow. It actually had a flow on it, that's the thing. And then you knew that was wrong, is that right?
It was wrong, and I was looking at it thinking, I need to get in touch about this. And he's sorting out, clearing up. And in fact, you actually got part of it right. There is an overflow under here, just in front of the Pebble of the Peak that runs down to the Medlock. But it wasn't the Tib. And that all behold the Tib. You'll have to put the clip up.
Behold the Tib.
I saw it and I thought, oh God, no, it needs correcting this. And that's where you went back.
Yes, so I thought that big, tall, oval outflow was the Tib. Like I say, even had a flow on it. But it weren't the case, was it? Because you knew. So I get the message off him telling me that that's not it. And I thought it was some kind of like... I don't know, clever clogs that didn't know his stuff but was trying to be clever but didn't know his stuff. It turns out he did know his stuff, and then he redirected me and James to the right place. I could probably show you a picture of it. It's not something to be celebrated, is it, James?
I knew where it was to begin with.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, that's the only reason I brought you down here, and to revisit the River Tib and to... direct you towards that video. It should actually have a Medlock number to it. It should be called Medlock 9B or something like that, because it's me correcting the outflow of the River Tib. How embarrassing was it for me?
Well, you know, you get over it, don't you? And to be honest, right, when you actually went and looked at it, it is a bit of an anticlimax. I'm not going to lie, right? I've been in that section of the Medlock quite a few times over the years, and I walked past that. I knew what it was, but it's a bit of nothing, isn't it?
Yeah, that Tib outflow doesn't even flow, and it's a complete and utter anticlimax. A bricked up arch. It's rubbish,
It's just
isn't
got
it?
a little
With
pipe
the plastic
poking
a plastic pipe poking through, so it's absolutely rubbish. Anyway, that's why I came down there. We thought we'd just revisit that, and I think we're looking at doing another tib video, aren't we?
I think we should.
Because we've probably got, I did one years ago, but I could probably do a more complete one now. Right, so this is First Street in Manchester, now all highly developed and full of sausage dog people. Bless them, bless them. Anyway, so we're probably stood here. Underneath here runs the Medlock. Not saying it's exactly where we stood, but we're pretty much stood above this. That is the Medlock, 1903. It's about to be culverted over, and where they culverted it over, First Street, where we stood, went over the top of it. The Medlock, where we stood doing the outro here now, is underneath us. So we're pretty much stood in this area. Incredible picture, Gaythorne Gasworks, 1903. And then towards the side here probably is where the Tib finally meets the Medlock, and it's roughly here where we stood. I actually think it's slightly more back there, but we just thought we'd end the video here where above the Tib where it meets the Medlock. Anyway, there you go. So I hope you enjoyed that little video, just a little spur of the moment, off the cuff thing. We thought we'd revisit some old places. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah.
Those pubs are good, but
They're expensive.
they're rather expensive. They're not the cheapest pubs in the world. London comes to Manchester, comes to mind. Anyway, we found out the origins of New Islington. That's a relief. Phew. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back soon with another mysterious video. Take care. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.
For now.
Bye for now.